When my friends tell me that they have booked a flight to Portugal, I tend to talk their ear off for like an hour. I have so many things to share. I'm going to share that same list with you in way less time, I promise. I lived there for over a year and a half. I made plenty of mistakes, but I'm going to help you not make those same mistakes right here when you watch this video. Stick around for the one thing that made a local tell me I was brave that was really just, well, I'll share that later. Dining in Portugal is different than dining in the United States. It's not different bad. I mean, dining in Portuguese restaurants is fabulous. You will have great experiences in Portuguese restaurants. You will feel so welcomed if you follow and understand a few tips. And also if you make prior reservations. But whether you're eating Italian or Mexican or Portuguese while you're in Portugal, restaurants are going to follow some very similar ways of being. And they're different than the United States. In the United States, it's all about turn and burn. Let's get you in, let's get you out, let's get to the next person. We've got money to make here. That's not generally the case in Portuguese restaurants, which I think is a beautiful thing. But some misunderstandings happen, and I've noticed it when I have gone to look at a restaurant's reviews and have noticed people complaining about these things that I'm going to share with you. In most restaurants, they are going to bring out what is called a couvert. It typically includes breads, maybe some pickled vegetables. You know, when people bring bread and butter to your table in the United States, we typically think it's free. This is not free. There is a charge. It's typically not very much, you know, just like 3-4 euros. But if you don't really want that pre-meal snack, tell them no. No, thank you. Obrigada now. If you don't want it. Although it is kind of a nice thing to have, so maybe you want it. That's the couvert rule. Now, the second thing to know, and I think this is maybe even more important, is in Portugal, as it is in many European countries, if you're holding your menu up and reading, no one's coming up to ask you for your drink preference. At many restaurants. They will at some. What I would do is if I was reading my menu and I was also thirsty and I was like, oh, they're not coming around, I just set my menu down. And that way they know, oh, well, she must want something. Because the server doesn't want to rush you. They are not ignoring you. They are not standing there staring into outer space going, oh, I don't feel like working today. They're trying to not rush you. Tipping is something that people often ask about. Tipping isn't as prevalent in Portugal as it is in the United States. That said, we usually tipped at least 10%, sometimes 20% like we would here. It just kind of depended on the situation. Now, if you want to make sure that you're always able to tip, then you're going to need to have cash on hand. Their machines won't always prompt for a tip. And, you know, sometimes you can ask and say, oh, hey, you know, am I able to tip on there? And they'll be able to do an adjustment that will allow you to, but sometimes the machine absolutely will not do it. They can't take a tip. So in those instances, it's best to have a bit of cash on your person. This dining tip is for all of my Midwestern friends out there, because I feel like we tend to eat earlier in the day. Like, you know, my uncle just made us reservations for 5:30 for when we're going to get together. In Portugal, people tend to dine a little bit later. If you show up at a restaurant at 5 o'clock, it might be closed because a lot of restaurants will close between like 2 and 6.
Right, we are at Drogaria, and I'm hoping the food is fantastic.
And when the restaurant says that it opens at 6, like I feel we're used to the doors being open maybe 5 minutes before opening time. They're gonna open those doors right at that time or maybe a little bit later. And that's just the way it is. Roll with it. Things just move at a slower pace. We were on a tour once and the guide was there like right at the time that the whole thing was supposed to start. And he was like, oh, I arrived just in time. Everything here happens just in time. So it's more relaxed on time. But don't be late for your reservations because they could give away your table. If there's a question that you have on dining that I didn't cover, please comment below and ask the question and I will read the comments and I will answer the questions because I want to make sure that I'm giving everybody the best information that I can. Here's the thing on language. I always think it's a good idea to learn a few words of the language spoken in the place you're traveling to. In Portugal, it's obrigado, obrigado for thank you. It's por favor for please, bom dia, olá, boa noite for, you know, your basic greetings. It's desculpe for sorry or excuse me. Sometimes people just say "desculpe" is what I noticed. One thing to be aware of is, Spain and Portugal are right next to each other. In Spain, they speak Spanish. In Portugal, they speak Portuguese. I was once at an outdoor market and I made the mistake of saying siete for 7. And the gentleman was like, "You are in Portugal. We speak Portuguese here." Portugal and Spain have had their battles, so there can be a little bit of not happiness with that language bit. Now, I've had other people from Portugal tell me, so long as you can be understood, it's fine. But I would just do your best to not accidentally speak any Spanish. That's my tip. Safety. When it comes to safety, Portugal is one of the safest countries you can visit. In fact, Porto, where we lived for about a year, is currently considered the #1 city for first-time European travelers to go. It is incredibly safe. We have roamed those streets at 4 in the morning. Graffiti. When you're in Portugal, chances are you are going to come across quite a bit of graffiti and also some buildings that look really dilapidated and sketch. I am from a smaller city in Minnesota. So I'm a Midwesterner and I didn't get out much until I was older. To me, seeing a lot of graffiti in a big city in the United States would make me really nervous and oh my God, I just need to get out of this spot. Seeing graffiti in Portugal after we lived there for a bit and knowing the story behind it, I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. You'll see graffiti in all kinds of completely safe, wonderful places where you don't have to worry at all. I walked down one street every day that it looked like, ooh, I don't know about that. I never once had any kind of a bad incident. Now, conversely, I did walk in one area of Porto that I later realized wasn't an ideal area to walk through. So we lived in the Arabida neighborhood overlooking the Arabida Bridge, and I had a hairstylist in Faj that I really liked to go to. So between our neighborhood and the Faj neighborhood, which are completely outside of the tourist areas, I mean, you might go to the Arabida Bridge, but beyond that, you're not. Well, and you might go to Faj because Faj is really, really nice. But walking the path that I did between the two is a highly unlikely scenario. You're not going up on that hill that I lived on. I would be very doubtful that you would be. But between them, there's a neighborhood that has these apartments that look really plain. I mean, they don't look dilapidated. They look like maybe they went up in the 70s. They're just plain brick buildings. Now, as I was walking through the first time, I noticed oh, there's the van of police officers. Interesting. Oh, there's the guy with the German Shepherd walking that he kind of looks a little sketch. Oh, there's a few people over there that look like they might be on something. But I don't know, and I'm going to get my hair done, so why do I care? And I walk back on the same path. The police looked at me a little bit but it was fine. The next time I had an appointment at the salon, it was raining, and so I decided to get an Uber. And as we were going through the neighborhood, the guy was like, well, since it's daytime, I don't mind driving through this area, but this is kind of a rough area. I mean, we're gonna be okay, but it's not good. And I said, oh, I walked through this last week. And he looked at me and he was like, well, brave girl. And then he shared that really, it was very unlikely that anything bad would happen to me. It would be more about people offering me things I shouldn't have, people wanting me to buy their drugs, or where it was just a bad area like that. If that was the most dangerous part of the city, which maybe it wasn't the most, but if that was considered a dangerous part of the city that you really should be careful in, it wasn't bad. I wouldn't go back there at night. I wouldn't try my luck, but really, 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 Portugal is incredibly safe. I do know that bad things can happen and that there have been people who have gotten mugged and that, but as far as cities go and as far as travel goes, when it comes to safety in Portugal, you are very safe. I have a special trick for all of my solo travelers out there, especially my female solo travelers. I have Beats. And I can't demo with my phone because my phone is recording me right now. I will set my Beats to transparent mode. I've got my hair over. And I will put where I'm headed into my maps on my phone. I then pocket my phone and I can hear the instructions of when to turn right, when to turn left, about how much further forward I have to go. And nobody around me knows that I don't know where I'm going, which is handy because I don't know where I'm going a lot. But then if somebody's trying to talk to me, I can easily ignore that I hear them. And if they pursue a conversation, I can go, oh, I'm so sorry. What? If they seem safe. If they don't seem safe, I'm just walking it. I'm sorry. Unless I can feel or hear a reason to not. And again, I put them on transparency mode so that I can be aware of my surroundings. And Chris and I have lived in the Algarve, we've lived in Porto, and we've traveled to Lisbon several times. So we have a perspective. We have a hot take on driving in Portugal. What's really cool about Portugal is, you can get from top to bottom in that country within 6 hours driving, pretty much. However, driving in different parts of Portugal brings different challenges. Depending on where you want to go in Portugal, you might not need a car. Like if you're just going to Lisbon, or if you're just going to Lisbon and Porto, take a train between Lisbon and Porto, forget about the car. There's no point. Now, if you have a lot of stops along the way, you might want a car, but I would rent it on the day that you're leaving Lisbon or on the day that you're leaving Porto, so that it's for those in-between places. Another option when it comes to getting to all of the different places you might want to get in Portugal is taking a tour or taking a river cruise. But also, you can book your trains and your vehicles. You'll do just fine. If navigating train schedules, train strikes, driving rental cars, making these sorts of decisions just feels overwhelming, connect with me. I can help. I've done it for others. I can do it for you too. Here's another tip. It can be a good idea to fly into Lisbon and fly out of Porto, or vice versa, so that you can see the whole country and not have to backtrack. So I've had this work well for some people traveling to Portugal. It doesn't always work out because flights and costs, and who knows what the flight wizards are doing from one day to the next, right? Or the flight gods. Don't drive the Douro Valley. Get a pro, because those roads are hard to navigate, and it's way safer to just have a local person who knows what they're doing drive you. I think that highway is considered one of the most dangerous in Europe. I could be mistaken, but I wouldn't want to drive it. So get a pro. Take a tour, take a boat. Don't go to the Douro Valley and think that you're going to drive it yourself and have a great time. It's going to be too stressful. And the whole reason to go to the Douro Valley, apart from the beauty, is enjoying wine and tasting wine. So you don't want to have to drive back after you do the wine tasting. So take a tour. Here are just a few more tips to help you have a fabulous vacation. When it comes to your suitcase and what you're putting in it, leave your hair dryer. Leave your hair dryer, curling iron, anything that plugs in like that at home. You're not going to need it. Hotels have hair dryers. If you're someone like me and you need to have your hair blown out and you don't want the hassle of doing it while you're traveling, you can always stop into a salon and get it done. I mean, schedule an appointment, but it's often just like 20 euros to get your hair styled. I mean, that's pretty amazing. The reason I say that is even with an adapter that promises you're going to be able to use your hair dryer wherever in the world, I wouldn't trust it. I just wouldn't. Save the luggage space, save the weight. You'll be fine. Depending upon what season you travel to Portugal in, and depending on where you're going in Portugal, you might want to bring an umbrella or a guarda-chuva. That's the word for umbrella, which I kind of love because guarda is protect, and chuva is rain. And so it's guarda-chuva. If you're going to the Algarve, it's almost always sunny there. So your chances of really needing it, slim, unless it's winter time. And then, in the fall, winter, especially if you're going to Porto and it's fall, winter, spring, if you have a rainy day, and if that rain really gets going, the wind sends it sideways and you can get just completely soaked. So I do recommend 3/4 length rain jackets so you're more covered. Okay, this one is gonna seem really odd, and I'm kind of expecting a lot of people to disagree with me, but for whatever reason, when it came to public restrooms in Portugal, I often went into a stall that did not have toilet paper. And as a girl, we always need toilet paper. Check the stalls. Just always check. I realized that I had been very privileged in my life to just mostly never think about that. And then I was just like, oh my God, it happened again. And then I started really checking all the time. And some of the times I needed to switch stalls. And maybe it was just me. Maybe I just had really, 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 really bad luck. I hope that I have provided some useful advice, and if you have any questions, again, please post them below. I would love to answer them. I would love to hear from you. If you'd like more help planning your trip to Portugal, there's a link in the description. Otherwise, make sure that you subscribe and click the notification bell. I'm going to have a first timer's guide to Lisbon coming out very soon.